let's set the scene here. All right. Motors running, cars honking. Some birds are tweeting.
A dog barks in the background.
Exactly. Are you waking up in the middle of the city as rush hour begins and you're getting ready to go to work? Or are you urban hunting? In the case of our guest Taylor today, it's the latter. How was that for an intro, Mark?
I got chills.
All right, cool.
I can actually hear the deer coming already.
Yeah?
I can smell the urban musk as it is.
The urban musk. There you go.
Dog barking when you're hunting in the suburbs is a good thing.
It's a good thing,
Yeah,
huh?
it means the deer are moving. The dogs are barking at the deer mostly.
Okay.
Is that usually what makes dogs bark around there?
Well, I mean,
Dogs bark for many reasons, but yeah, no.
I'm not well versed on the mind of the dog yet, but
Stupid question, my bad. So the voice that you're hearing over there, like we said, is Taylor, who has come out to visit us. And many of you might have heard from Taylor Chamberlin before on maybe other podcasts, or you've been in some videos and stuff too with First Light and stuff like that. Urban hunting is sort of the name of the game with you. We also have, I should mention, we have Mark here as usual, Jimmy talking on the mic, and Mr. Eric Barber has joined us for this hunt as well because he knew we were going to be talking about hunting deer and he just can't stay away.
Triggered.
Exactly. Taylor, for those not familiar with you, why don't we have you introduce yourself and tell us who you are, a little bit about what you do, fun facts, anything like that.
yeah. Well, I'm Taylor Chamberlain. I 3-gun, so that's important.
No, nobody. Yeah. All right.
So no, I live right outside of Washington D.C. I live in Northern Virginia, and I'm an avid outdoorsman, which doesn't really go well living in Northern Virginia, where I'm surrounded by, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people and tons of whitetail as well. So I get to deer hunt and help thin out the deer herd, which is pretty cool because our deer are incredibly overpopulated. So we can get into that, but
Yeah.
If you like to shoot deer with a bow, D.C. or Northern Virginia is actually a pretty good spot to be doing it.
It's just the first time I heard about this, I thought somebody was pulling my leg. That there's a dude hunting deer in D.C.
I get that a lot.
What's the deal? What's the deal with D.C. and so many deer? Why do so many live there? It's not even that attractive of a place to live for human beings. Why is it so?
That's not that great of a spot. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I think what's happened is as we've had urban sprawl kind of take over the whitetail's natural ecosystem, when we're, taking down the forest and replacing it with this beautiful landscaping and shrubs and everything, the deer are actually able to thrive on that more than they're able to live on the natural carrying capacity. So it's actually increased it because they're, when they're pounding liriope and everything that or whatever they're eating, ornamental shrubs that are fertilized and good to go, that's what allows them to really blossom. So our carrying capacity in Northern Virginia should be in the 12 to 15 deer per square mile. It's so high they can't even figure out how many deer there are. So when they do a thermal imaging, their best guess, some pockets are between 400 and 450 deer per square mile.
That's insane.
That's just so astounding.
It's unbelievable. They're totally emaciated. I mean, they've literally eaten themselves out of house and home. But you'll see, 15, 20 deer just standing in your yard.
Jeez.
Really?
And how big are people's yards?
So I live in an area in Fairfax County where our lots are probably more like quarter acre, half acre, but I hunt on some spots that are 4,000 square feet, 6,000 square feet,
Wow.
eighth of an acre lots, which are quite challenging to hunt on because a deer, 99% of the time that deer is not expiring on that property, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to get permission on a bunch of properties in order to be able to effectively track and retrieve that deer. So now I'm knocking on 5 or 6 doors, asking the homeowners for permission. Sometimes that doesn't go over well, but, nature of the game.
I can't imagine. There's so many questions. I know we wrote down a huge list of questions that we could ask you. I feel like they're all going to be random too. So is it primarily the kind of places that you're hunting and that you're seeing? I mean, if you were to look around from your saddle where you're in somebody's yard, are
My
you
man
seeing
diaper.
Your man diaper? Are you seeing like a ton of big buildings, or is this kind of like suburbia with a ton of houses? Or
So
I mean, is it like right in town, or
Yeah, so where I hunt, it's all like urban sprawl, so suburban developments.
Yeah.
Right. Everything that you could develop a house on, most of those lots have been developed in North Virginia, right? So where I end up getting property access, or where a lot of the deer are they're using these waterways or floodplains or creek beds or whatever as these highways. So like a typical hunt for me, sitting in my saddle looking around, I could see like 8 houses, 10 houses. I mean, you see the kids over here playing like, 500 yards away kind of thing. It's really pretty crazy. I mean, when Taylor and Jordan came out to film that First Light film, I just remember as the sun came up on the first morning, kind of looking at it, and they were like, "Holy smoke! Like you're actually hunting here? Like you do this? You're like watching the school bus go by But the deer, I mean, it's really cool to see how the deer have acclimated to this and how they're thriving in this environment, because, they don't think that humans are that big of a predator to them, and they're just kind of, working around us.
And now when you're hunting, it's not just in fall or like a traditional deer season that many people would be familiar with, right? So they treat. Is that like the only place ever that treats deer like this, where you can hunt deer? Almost,
I hunt year round.
Year round?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our deer season runs from the first weekend in September all the way through, I believe it's April 28th this year.
Whoa.
And so now that's mostly antlerless only, right?
Okay.
We can shoot antlered bucks between the first weekend in October and the last weekend in December. So we have a pretty healthy, buck hunting season, but I'm.
And is that like a statewide general season, or is that in these like urbanized
just in these
area?
urban pockets? So
Okay.
we don't have like zones or units. It's broken up by county, so it's county specific. But they have an urban archery season, so that is the urban archery season. Outside of that, like season, you're able to get what are called kill permits, and so each property you'll get a paper license that says official license to kill.
Oh, I'm sure that's really a great way to explain to somebody who's never even heard of a hunter before. When you walk up to their door, I have an official permit to kill.
Yeah, here's my license to kill, ma'am. Sup. Yeah. So, but the homeowners actually have to specifically request those licenses. I can't request it on their behalf, which is kind of just an interesting loophole as a property owner.
And then do they request that? They request that essentially on your behalf.
Yes.
And is that, does it have your name on it, or is it just like, nope, here's like a...
No, so they have to, I have to coordinate with each one of the property owners, which, as you can imagine, is a lot of coordination. And but they will put my name on that kill permit, so that authorizes me.
Kill.
Yeah.
And do they get sent that, or they can just like print that off on the computer?
They write it out. So a person will come out from the state, and they will verify that the deer are doing damage to the property.
Okay,
And
so
then,
it's a process.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we're actually going to start that process here pretty soon. With my homeowners.
Okay.
So what does the process look like when you or what's the dynamic of a situation where you go up and you're knocking on doors? And I'm sure you've seen a whole variety of different responses. There's some people who probably, shoo you off. I'd imagine if they don't want you to hunt on there, it's not like they're shooing you off with a shotgun. They're probably shooting you off with like a hemp staff or something.
Big Hillary flag.
Yeah. Or I'm sure you get people who are on the fence, and I'm sure you get people who are all about you going back and getting those deer. But let's say you have somebody who's on the fence, and you go up and you're explaining to them, hey, the deer are a big problem around here. We're trying to thin out the herd. There's too many deer. I'm sure you can see your yard getting destroyed. And then they're kind of like, all right, well, yeah, I think I can get into this. And then all of a sudden they got to go through all that stuff, and they realize how big of a process it is. How is that?
That's only during the outside of the season.
Oh, the kind
from
of
September through April.
Okay.
So if it's September 15th, right, or if it's August, and I'm knocking on doors and I'm gonna come hunt your property the first weekend in September. I have, just as having a hunting license, you're able to hunt in the yards. Like there's no additional process. But
Cool.
I mean, for I do get a lot of people that are kind of on the fence about it because they just don't understand it. Like most of these people haven't met a hunter before.
Right.
And I actually get a lot of people that, after I've been hunting their property for a little while, and they realize I'm like a normal guy. I'm not some bloodthirsty redneck who's like crushing Budweiser in their front yard.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of
the time.
Yeah. I mean, Tuesdays happen. Right?
Yeah.
No, so I get a lot of people that once they kind of like warm up to me, they'll be like, "You're not at all what we expected."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" It's funny to kind of watch them like try to be politically correct in that they expect some like redneck and army fatigues who's just like kill them all. They don't expect like a
big old wad of dip and just spitting all over their yard.
A bunch of chew just hanging out of my face.
Bush light cans rolling out their tailgate.
Busts open the truck door and it just spills out.
Yeah.
It's like expect Boomhauer from King of the Hill, right? It's not at all.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people they don't get hunting. They didn't grow up around hunting. They have no clue. They just see a bunch of deer in their yard and eventually they're like, kill them. Just I'm tired of not being able to grow anything here. I'm tired of, getting Lyme's disease or ticks are a big problem.
Sure.
So, and then I get a lot of people that are kind of like on the fence. I mean, obviously DC is a pretty transient area. So a lot of the properties that I have will turn over.
Right.
They'll go up for sale or whatever. And so it's always a funny conversation because I'll go knock on the door, talk to the new homeowner. I'll have the old homeowner kind of tee me up for the new owner, right?
Yeah. So you don't have to be like, hey, I swear I just got permission to be out here all the time and shoot deer.
Oh, you moved? Yeah. And so it's funny, though, because they're like, you have somebody do what? Some guy's hunting here? No. We don't want that. So I always go introduce myself, give them my business card. And I'm just like, look, call me when the deer are a problem.
What does your business card say?
License to kill.
Yes. That's what I was waiting for.
It says daddy, and then no, it's I just have a card that has my name and phone number and it says deer removal services. I'm like no different than the landscaper or like a pest removal guy.
Do you ever get people that actually want to pay you for this service?
I've never had anybody. I've had some people offer to pay me, but I mean, dude, I have so much fun shooting deer. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah,
right?
you'd probably set yourself up for some weird legal thing too.
Yeah,
Totally.
probably.
Getting paid
Next
for
thing
it.
I need to do, telling the IRS that I'm
An assassin.
killing hundreds of deer and I'm like getting $50
I'm
a
a paid
deer.
assassin, so I need to pay my taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Not many people get to say, yeah, I hunt deer pro bono.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. No, so but inevitably, I'll always give them my card, and they will call me within 90 days to 6 months, and be like, "Please come out and kill every single one of these things."
Have you seen that transition? I'm sure you have, where a dude's like, or gal, whoever, a person is like, "Oh, I'd never have this happen," and like you said, that 90-day, they're like, "No, please come over now."
Yeah, it's almost like the same cycle, right? They move in, they're like, "Man, why isn't there any nice landscaping here?" And then they'll spend a bunch of money on landscaping, and then in 45 to 60 days, they're like, "Hey, I found your card, and please come out and remove these suckers."
If I've gathered anything from any podcast I've ever heard you on or videos, it's that if you are a deer hunter or a landscaper, you should move to DC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Landscapers got to be just making bank over there.
Oh, they love it. And they're actually, I know a handful of guys that are in the landscaping business that are also hunters, and they get so many
They're
properties.
basically setting up their own food plots.
Yeah,
Right.
They're like, "Oh, we'll just plant some more of that here and there, and then, but this tree's perfect." And but it's kind of cool because I've gotten to the point now where I try to kind of network through my homeowners,
Right.
And so I always tell them like, "Look, if you like the job that I'm doing, please refer me to any of your buddies because I'd much rather have like your neighbor tell you about how great I am as opposed to like, oh, I'm a great dude, I swear, like, don't mind me." And
well, that's just a way easier conversation. Like knocking on that door. In the video, you're like talking about butterflies, dude. I mean, I do it occasionally. Dude, I hate knocking on doors. People don't know you. Like I'm always like standing 20 feet off the porch, like I don't want to threaten. I just want to
no hands in pockets.
Because I always think to myself too, and it's like my neighborhood gets solicited so much, and it's always people who are handing me flyers and stuff like that. And I'm always like, like that. You know, especially when it's somebody who's right up in your door and like they knock once and then they look through your window and then they see you in there and they knock again. And you're like, oh my gosh, get out. Like, well, I didn't answer the door for a reason. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Well, that's always different too. It's different. Like, it's like, oh, it's the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts. Some adult male at your door is,
well,
or female, just adult.
And I'm a big guy, right? So like, I feel like that I'm kind of intimidating to have at your front door. It's like 8 o'clock at night. And you're like, what does this guy want? Like,
in a highly political city.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh, it's a hitman.
Yeah.
So I had a deer that I shot. I had a deer that I shot. I was hunting on a creek bed and a really small property, and this deer runs over and dies 300 yards from me. I saw it pile up, but it's about 8 properties over. So I had to go on my Onyx, and I'm like, okay, that's this property here. And of course, I have to drive all the way around to get to that property. So I go to my car, put my street clothes on, hop in, drive around. I pull up to the house, and there are all these black Suburbans out front with Secret Service, right? And I'm like, please don't be that house, right? And I'm like, there's no way that's this house. And I'm like, damn it, that's definitely this house. I go up, and of course the window rolls down immediately in the Suburban. It's like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I shot a deer. And the guy's like, what? I'm like, yeah, shot a deer.
Let me back up for a second.
I shot a deer, died in the backyard.
Look, I have this license to kill.
You have one of these, buddy?
Yeah.
And
flash my papers. I can get anywhere.
But of course, he can't give me permission to retrieve the deer. The homeowner has to give me permission to retrieve the deer. So I'm like, can you please get whoever lives here? And it ended up being a Supreme Court justice. Who's no longer with us, who was a big supporter of hunting, and he was super cool about it. Was like, yeah, man, go grab it. You know, I'd love to let you hunt here, but I really can't. You know, so that was really cool.
Crazy.
But that was not fun.
That is a wild story. Extra butterflies.
Yeah, you just like the jet black window just rolls down. You're like,
some guy wearing dark sunglasses in there and black clothes.
MP5.
All the guys in the Suburban look the same.
Chewing gum.
So you brought up your transportation a little bit there. Like, is that something that you kind of take into consideration? Like, I've heard some guys that hunt in urban areas, even me when I used to hunt in a area that isn't necessarily urban, but I didn't want other people to know that I was hunting there. I would have my wife drop me off. Is that something that you do so you can kind of keep your spots a little more
your
secretive?
Wife is a saint.
She is.
Yeah, there's no way my wife would drop me off. She might drop me off at the wrong property and be like, home there, fella. No, so I try to be as discreet as possible.
Yeah.
Because I want to be out of sight, out of mind. I mean, think about it as like a tactical operation, right? I mean, the fewer people that know I'm there, the better. Mm-hmm. Because just the more eyeballs you have, the better the chances are that somebody's going to be drastically opposed to it.
Right.
So I get a lot of people. I very rarely get somebody who's please come kill all the deer. Right. I mean, I have a handful of those, and I get a lot of phone calls of people that are begging me to come kill the deer. But if I'm knocking on a door, I seem to never get those people. I tend to always get people that are like, "You want to do what?" And okay, whatever. Or I get people that are like, "Oh my God, murderer, you're a bad man," spitting at me, and I'm like, okay, so that is what I never want to have next door to a property when I'm like, yeah, how do your neighbors feel about the deer, right?
Yeah,
and if they're like, oh, Beth over there feeds them, I know that I'm not going to go talk to Beth. Right?
Yeah. So then, when you kill one and you're trying to get it out of there, like you said, tactical operation.
Yeah. So I have a full on kill kit, almost Dexter grade kill kit in my truck, right? So I have all these rubber gloves. I have my knives. Yeah. I have no idea how people think they could get away with murder after. I mean, with a deer, there's blood everywhere, and when it's snow on the ground, is a nightmare for me. I keep one of those little shovels in the back of my
so you
truck.
Can cover it, yeah.
But so I have this full on kill kit, and I have a jet sled that I keep in my truck bed. So my truck bed has one of these tonneau covers on the back that folds up. Mm-hmm. So I have a ATV ramp that I'll pull towards the back, pull the jet sled out, go get the deer. Most of the time I can gut it there. Sometimes I have to take the entrails with me, just because it's such a small property. Mm-hmm. I'll pull it out on the jet sled, cover it with a tarp, pull it up the ATV ramp, and then throw it in the back and just get out of there.
Yeah,
which I think it actually could present possibly its own problems,
right?
With a person not knowing the contents of the sled and seeing this transpire.
That's why I stopped using body bags. I used to use a body bag instead of the jet sled.
Can I ask where you go to get a body bag?
Amazon.
No way. I'm looking that up right now. That is, I don't know if I should look it up. Well, you obviously did.
Just
You're
disconnect
not
from the Wi-Fi.
Okay, off Wi-Fi.
So
you got a body bag on him? Wow.
Have you ever had the cops called on you?
Oh yeah, dude. And a lot of the cops don't know the laws as well as because they don't hunt. Right. So
that is terrifying.
I've had people, like cop cars pull up and you see them park behind my car and you're like, oh man, here we go. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm in the tree and. This actually happened to me.
And you're like, I'm not
summer.
going back.
Yeah. Come and get me. Yeah. So I was hunting on a property. I mean, all the properties are tiny. Like you can see the road, right? So I'm literally like 60 yards from my truck. Here comes a Fairfax County police officer. I'm like, man. Guy gets out and he's like looking in my windows, and I was like whistling at him, and the guy's like.
God?
I'm like, sir, I'm up here, over here, and
step into the light.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, get down here. I'm like, no, like I'm hunting. I'm like, oh, this is screwed. So I get down, and I'm like, could you please ask whoever called to stop calling you and wasting your time? Like I'm doing a service for this property owner. It's private property. I have permission to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And like. It's in Virginia. It's
my license to kill.
Yeah. It's around my necklace with my Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's illegal in the state of Virginia to interrupt somebody who's actively hunting.
Okay, right.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Straight up illegal.
Yes. So I was like, if you could please remind them of that. Like, hint, hint, officer. Like, this is a law.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and then you're like, the tables have turned, officer. Citizens arrest. Yeah. You've interrupted my hunt.
Yeah.
Watch out now. Do you, when you're getting the deer out of there now? I understand what you're saying when you put it up and it's covered up and it's in the bed of your truck, but there's obviously that in between time. There's got to be times where people have just driven by where you're just basically.
It happens at the worst time. I shot a buck this year in October, and I'm this big old sucker, and I'm like pushing him up the ATV ramp, and I hear, "Oh my God!" and I'm like, "Oh man," And I turn around, and of course, it's like the three gossiping wives that are out for their Sunday morning stroll kind of thing. They're like, "What are you doing?" There's like legs flopping around.
Oh man!
No. So it was the adrenaline dump I really needed to get that sucker up the ATV ramp, and like. See you guys. I love your blouse. What are you gonna do, right?
Yikes.
So a lot of the time, what I'll do is anytime I'm talking to a homeowner, I ask them where they want me to park. Sometimes I'll park on the street, but if I harvest one, I'll back down their driveway or something and try to be out of sight, out of mind. And also, I want to drag the deer as short of a distance as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to take a lot of factors into consideration other than just like walking in the woods and hunting.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So do you, when you said people will come and they'll tell you, kill them all, or you said that doesn't exactly happen all the time, but obviously you're getting a lot of deer. There doesn't seem to be any kind of the season is very long. There also doesn't seem to be any kind of like a limit exactly.
Oh, there's no bag limit. Yeah, well, on antler deer, you can only kill 3 bucks a year.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Only
I was going to
3.
ask that.
Yeah, but unlimited does. So when you get your license, you get 3 either sex tags, and then you get 3 antlerless tags to begin with, and then you can just keep buying. 6 tags at a time.
Throwing them at you.
Yeah.
What are those additional tags?
$15.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But you can get homeowners if some homeowners are able to get on like a DPOP permit, population permit control, and so that gives me unlimited tags on certain properties.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have quite the folder of like what property is what, and if this is on DPOP tags or.
I'd imagine
you gotta be super organized.
Totally.
Oh, dude, I keep track of when the trash people come to certain properties, when the landscapers are coming to certain properties. Deer love freshly blown grass, like when the leaves are falling.
Yeah.
When the landscaper's out blowing the leaves, like I will hunt the next morning or that evening.
Really?
Oh, the deer
It's like a food plot almost.
Yeah, oh, they crush the grass.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and
so
actually, it's
cool.
probably a really super sensitive time for that grass. So you're doing that homeowner even maybe a bigger service.
Yeah, I never even thought about it that way, but yeah, that definitely helps them.
What other?
Totally altruistic. On your end.
Yeah. What other like hunting tactics do you find that work? You know, in urban areas, that someone that hunts like the traditional way might not think of.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of the time the deer seem to almost be nomadic, right? Like they're kind of herded up and they work in this circuit almost, because I think it's a combination of their lack of browse and also just all these other factors that push them around, right? So like if Timmy and Tommy are out back playing around, it might bump them over a little bit, and then you know the neighbor's dog pushes them. They're constantly kind of getting pushed around. So I tell all my homeowners, I'm like, call me when you're seeing deer. Or text me when you're seeing deer. Eat whatever. Send a carrier pigeon if you have to. Let me know when they're around, because I want to be as efficient as possible in my timing.
Right.
So I kill a ton of deer solely off of homeowners being like, they're right here every Friday, or you know they've been here the last 2 days, and I will always make a point to go hunt that property.
So is that browse line? I want to ask, like, is there just like a hard browse line, like everywhere,
it's
like
destroyed,
like deer high and down? It's just
if
gone.
you go into like a park and you crouch down, I mean, there's nothing that you can see. It is just gone. It's gotten to the point where I'm probably going to get this wrong, but talking to some of our urban foresters, they're seriously concerned about the health and the age of our forest, because since those deer have decimated that browse line, there aren't any like young shoots of trees coming up. Yeah. So when a big tree falls over, there's nothing to take its place.
Right? Yeah,
and it's just crushed all the ground nesting species. You know, they have nowhere to live.
So with like relying on those like hot tips from people, do you use trail cameras or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I always use trail cameras, but I do use a lot of trail cameras. But at the same time, I would much rather rely on a homeowner telling me when the deer are there. Now, where the homeowners get it wrong is when they're like calling me and they're like, "Dude, there's a monster buck here."
Yeah,
right. And you go out there and it's like a year-old like little basket racked 8-pointer.
Yeah.
Hopefully, things.
Yeah.
But so the trail camera is really helpful in that regard.
Right.
And sometimes the trail camera is really helpful of knowing, you know, where the deer are using certain areas that maybe the homeowner can't see. But it's pretty rare to have a spot that the homeowner can't see in their 6,000 square foot yard. Right. So,
so when you think about the type of hunting that you do, in urban hunting, compared to maybe some of these other kinds of hunting that people do, whether it's out of a tree stand or whether it's backpack hunt or something like that, do you look at that? I think I heard you once say that you started urban hunting sort of out of a necessity, or that was just kind of what you had to do if you wanted to go hunting. You know, if you looked at the opportunity to go on a big backpack hunt or some other kind of a hunt, would you like rather do something like that, or are you kind of like, no, dude, urban hunting is where it's at. This is awesome.
Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head. I started it out of necessity. Like I have to live in the area that I live in for work, and I want to hunt. And so I was traveling to this like large military base in order to hunt, and the hunting sucked. I mean, it was a long drive. I'd go sit all day. I wouldn't see anything. And I'd drive home, there are deer all over these people's yards. And I'm like, you know, this might actually work out, right? And so to answer your question, I mean, I'm a member of a hunt club that's like 3,000 acres. It's 45 minutes from my house. It's QDMA managed, monster bucks everywhere. I hunted it once this year. Yeah, I'd rather hunt in the backyard. It's just so cool to me to see the deer and how they've adapted to living with us, right?
When you started urban hunting, or when that kind of light bulb went off, was that something that you at the time you're like, can you even do this?
Yeah. So I was really fortunate that a guy that I knew had already been doing some urban hunting, and so he was kind of like able to help me out. Like, yeah, this is okay, and the laws are obviously, you know, kind of convoluted when you're reading through it, right? So you're like, well, you can, and then what do you do here? And so fortunately,
well, it's DC, so naturally,
yeah, right.
Well, it should be pretty convoluted.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it felt wrong at first, right? Like you're literally like, I can smell the people cooking breakfast, you know, or I'll like, they're like, you can just sit on the deck, like, here's some coffee, like the deer will come right here. Like, no, I have to climb a tree. I like, refuse to sit on your deck and just shoot them, right? But one thing that I hunt from a lot are like tree forts, right? So the deer are used to them. It's kind of like a hay bale blind for you guys.
Yeah.
The deer are used to seeing them. Works great if you put like a little flag out there. You can constantly see which way the wind's going.
Oh, yeah.
The deer will walk right by it. And there's one that I've hunted from a bunch that's like a pirate ship theme.
Wow.
And yeah, whatever
Intricate.
kid had that was super lucky. So I've kind of added my own little flair. I put another pirate flag back on it.
Nice. Nice.
Maybe sometimes you hunt with an iPad. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it's not uncommon for me to have my like iPad up in there. I'm like doing work, and oh, well, here they come.
Stripping Wi-Fi from the house right behind you.
Oh,
Can I get your password?
Yeah.
just sign this, and then what's your Wi-Fi password? If you don't mind. Yeah.
How many megabits per second do you guys have?
Yeah. Let's bump that up, guys. I'm trying to stream some Netflix here.
Do you tend to get like some people get buck fever or stuff like that when they see they're going after these huge bucks or whatever, you know, and they want to see like old deer and whatnot. You're shooting a lot of antlerless deer, does, stuff like that. Do you feel like this has conditioned you to be a kind of person where, you know, you're not just like solely hard charging after these big bucks? You know, have you kind of adapted in this role being like, dude, dills are awesome?
I love shooting an old matriarch doe after you popped like 10 of her buddies. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I mean, I still get the jitters after I kill a deer, whether it's like the 110th deer of the season or the first. I mean, it's like, it feels, anytime, I think if you ever lose that feeling, you probably shouldn't be hunting. I mean, I think a lot of that comes out of respect for the animal also. But
I could see also, like, you're probably a heck of a shot. Like, you know, I'm lucky 1-2 deer with my bow. Like, if that's a good season, you know, at least here, like 110, like, you get that.
It's a lot of
dial.
slinging.
a lot of carbon.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't get I'd say the average person doesn't get that many opportunities.
That's a
to
life.
So I just threw that number out there. I mean, a normal season for me would be like 30 to 60 deer a year.
Okay.
And sometimes,
Still.
I mean, you know, if we have a year where we don't have a good acorn crop, I normally have enough properties that I can find a white oak that's dropping, and I will lay them down in September, or October.
Yeah.
I mean, because they keep coming in. You know, but to the, you know, some years you can shoot upwards of 100 plus deer, no problem. So
that's just an astronomical number to like, you know, draw back, get your pin. Really, you know what I mean? You're just doing that like way more than the average person.
What's even harder though is having the self-control to not shoot a deer if it's not perfect. Because based on the fact that I'm hunting these tiny parcels, I can't afford to have any shot other than an absolute perfect double lung, like top of the heart, 40 yards piled up. Because if I miss that 12 ring, you know, and I'm knocking on doors, and that deer is way down, you know, gone, that's serious trouble for me. Like that could result in the loss of a property.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if people around town start seeing a deer run around with an arrow sticking out of it, that gives then they start wondering, well, hey, we shouldn't be letting people hunt around here, you know?
I actually had a deer that this was years ago. Some neighbor like was tired of the deer, went to Dick's, bought a crossbow.
Oh no.
They had like the kid at Dick's set it up, right? And I don't even think he sighted it in, didn't know what he was doing. And there was this deer running around this neighborhood with this arrow like out of its back, right? Like he shot him high. And I hunted that deer for like 2 weeks before I could finally kill it. And I mean, it was like full court press to kill that sucker.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
everybody,
it
probably was a news story, I imagine.
You know, I don't think that made the news, but it was like the talk of that little community. And of course, it
doesn't look good.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, it's that hunter guy. No, it was not me.
Right.
It was Fred who bought the $200 crossbow at Dick's.
Yeah.
You know, and I there was one homeowner I was trying to explain. I'm like, no, that's a crossbow bolt. this is an arrow, that's a crossbow bolt, and you can tell the difference because of the fletchings. And I had to like show him.
Right.
And he was like, "Can I see one of your arrows?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on, Columbo. Like I just told you, man, this is an arrow." Like, and try to explain the whole process to him. Like, I'm not lying to you, dude. Like I wouldn't shoot a deer like that.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you really have to be careful of the perception of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or the HO, whatever you're hunting.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say, was it you?
Yeah.
Did you just going?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I got a question that I'm super curious about. So like you're hunting tree forts sometimes where you're that close to the house. You ever see anything super weird? Like, really? Could you go into a little more detail?
on or off air?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could sit here for hours and tell you stories like weird crap I've seen in the tree. So, most memorable ones, I mean, I'm hunting a spot one day and I see some movement kind of like off in the tree line, right? And I'm like, oh, sweet, here comes some deer. I pull up my binos, pull up my Vortex binoculars, and look through, and there are these like two hippies that have these tie-dye Grateful Dead shirts on, and they're like dancing through the woods, like, tripping daisies, right? I'm like, oh, God. And of course, they're walking straight to me, and so they get to about 10 yards away, and I'm like, hey! And the one guy goes like this, right? and the other guy hits the ground like it's incoming mortar fire, right? And it's like holding his head. And I'm like, yo, like, get out of here. Yeah. And the guy thought the trees were yelling at him, right? And so one guy took off running that way. The other guy took off running the other way, like screaming, holding his head, like, just freaking out. Right?
Those guys still talk about that.
Yeah. Like, remember when God told us to stop doing drugs? Yeah.
Not only do you shoot deer, you get people sober.
Yeah. Just doing what I can. Another spot. So a lot of these properties I'm hunting, like I mentioned before, are these kind of creek bottoms, right? Which I've now found out are where a lot of the high school kids go on Friday night to like drink beer and fool around, right?
Yeah.
So it was late October. I was super jacked for this one spot. I go in early, I climb a tree, and I'm hearing this like weird noise, right? It's kind of like a wheezing. I'm like, God, is that like an old fat raccoon or something? Like, what's going on? The sun comes up, and like 30 yards from me is frat boy Chad, who's passed out on the ground with like all these natty lights around him, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, God, man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm like packing my stuff up. I'm all flustered, and out of the corner of my eye, I see something move, and I'm like, and there's a doe with her little like click, and she is stopped and she's stomping at frat boy Chad, who's socked, right? And I'm like, and so I grab my bow real quick and just come to full draw and just smoke her. And she runs full sprint at frat boy Chad and does a J hook to go back the way she came. And the dude's like, and I'm like, dude, get out of here, man. Like, what are you doing? You're trespassing. Take your beer cans, man. And that was awesome, though. I totally would not, I mean, I probably wouldn't have, well, I probably would have shot that deer regardless, but the way that she stopped looking at him was perfect.
He was the perfect decoy.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's amazing how few people will look up in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people just don't realize that you're there.
I gotta admit, I
mean,
don't often look up in trees myself.
Why would you, though, right? Like, I mean, you don't want to be like paranoid, just kind of walking around,
right?
Just constantly looking
at all times.
I had, I mean, I could seriously go on and on, but the last one, I was sitting in a tree that was like right off of this guy's yard, kind of into a floodplain area. And landscapers came, they're like mowing the grass, and they're leaving. I thought they had left, and I hear like, and I look over, and here comes the lawnmower guy holding his butt, just full sprint, like right at me. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, no. And I'm going like, no. And he's just pulling his belt off, drops trout, and just blows poop everywhere. And it's like 12 feet from me, man. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? No mas.
Yeah,
Get out of here, man. Yeah, so
nice.
And you see a lot of cool stuff.
And that was the
not
day.
That's cool stuff,
Yeah.
but you see a lot of interesting stuff.
I'm sure. Yikes.
It's like my worst night.
Yeah.
I was really keen to this urban hunting thing until now. Now it's just
Right.
Dude,
I'm
it's
not
going to be
gonna risk it.
phenomenal people watching.
Yeah. From hippies to Julios.
Yeah.
Speaking, going back to the deer. Speaking of poop, talking about deer. You mentioned how there's so many there, and as far as, oh wait, here we go. Hold on. We have a special request coming through. We actually have, so Taylor being with Capture Creative here is with the rest of the crew. He said, ask about the protest coming through a community park. Before we talk about the deer here.
Yeah,
what happened here? Thanks, guys. Is that all right?
That's better than some of the other stories he's trying to make me tell. We can get into that later. Thanks to my mom's chili.
That never ends well when repelling from a diaper.
Yes, yeah, you can imagine.
It's all
That's why we designed it with holes.
Yeah, they need a chute.
A little flap, a little flannel flap. Yeah, we were hunting. I was hunting in a park with a group of people. That was like an assigned hunt, like a lottery hunt almost. If you met certain criteria, you can hunt this park. Part of what the county required was noticing all the people around the park that the hunt was going to take place. So,
so everybody knew you were going to be there.
Yeah, and it's like starting Saturday, October 1st at 7:30 a.m. Hunters will be in the woods. And
so your tactical operation.
Yes,
is
not
kaput.
super tactical. It was tweeted out basically.
Yeah. This is like if they put a billboard out that said, "Hey, SEAL Team 6 is going to come in and try and go after you, Osama."
You're Osama.
Covert operation starts tomorrow at 6
a.m. Yeah, FYI. So all these protesters came through the park, and what their intention was banging pots and pans and symbols.
Oh, a deer drive.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
So that's exactly what happened. So we're all set up, and I guess they didn't realize that hunters get in before the sun comes up. So they start pushing deer all over us. Right, everybody out there shot 3 or 4 deer each.
You get a deer. You get a deer.
It was an absolute nightmare finding them because all the blood trails were like. Right?
All
it just looked like
other.
you threw spaghetti all over the wood.
Oh, man.
I'm like, I think this is mine. And then you're like, yeah, just take it, man.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. and all these protesters were going nuts, because it was totally backfired on them.
Yeah.
And then now we're like dealing with them. Please, guys, get out. Like the deer's dead now.
Yeah.
Okay. Like let's let it go to good use.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I don't know if
You got to organize more of those protests.
Dude, I have a buddy of mine that was hunting. He calls me
just inciting protest via social media. Yeah, by the way, everybody,
the internet research agency in Russia is inciting protests against the organized hunters. So yeah, I have a buddy that was out hunting a property, and he shoots a deer, and the next door neighbor was getting their roof replaced, right? And so he shoots his deer. The deer is running off, and this guy, I guess, was taking a leak in the woods, one of the roofers, and the deer is running right at him. He jumps out from behind a tree, and he's like, ah! And the deer just spins around and sprints like across this highway and dies in this person's front yard. And my buddy's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, go away.
Yeah.
Why would you do that, man?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you? And it caused a huge issue in the neighborhood. This deer's like plopped over like right in like the old lady's front yard. Stereotypical nightmare. So,
Oh, man.
Jeez.
yeah, that was fun.
good.
Speaking of the deer, I wanted to ask too. So you mentioned that they're kind of emaciated looking. There's so many of them, not a lot to feed on, and just that kind of got me thinking about whenever like so many deer being in one place and just all this potential for disease and stuff. Do you guys have CWD out there? Is that something that you guys worry about big time?
So we have CWD in the state of Virginia. It's currently contained, I guess, right on the West Virginia border. So that's like maybe 50 miles from me. We have not had any confirmed cases in Fairfax County or Loudoun County, Arlington County, any of those. But, it seems to be coming.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Interesting.
I haven't seen any of the new numbers that came out, but,
Yeah.
it seems to be kind of spreading everywhere.
Yeah. Here's another random one I wanted to ask you, too. What's the deer situation on the White House lawn? Do they have their own private assassin team for
That'd be a really cool operation. I don't think there are many deer around the White House.
They've got some like Secret Service suppressed. Like your job is to kill all the deer before they make the White House lawn.
we were laughing with Taylor and Jordan, the other Taylor, when they came down to film the video. We're like in front of the White House, and Jordan just pulls out the Pelican case. And he's like, and it was like, whoa, dude, he pulls out their big Ronin, but definitely had the attention of some Secret Service guys there in front of the White House.
That's when you just roll up to the black SUVs, have them roll the window down, and ask
hey,
for
Fred,
permission.
how's it going? I remember you.
Yeah, that's a permit to kill guy.
I got a question about the deer. We're talking numbers, right? You're taking down a way higher than average number of deer, and so you're eating some of it. What are you doing with the rest of it?
We have a phenomenal program called Hunters for the Hungry, and a lot of these other states have similar programs. So I'm able to take a deer that I've harvested, take it to a butcher, drop it off without any cost to me, and they will process that animal and take it to a local food bank and feed the homeless with it, or people that are less fortunate.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That is
It's
really
great.
cool.
And actually that program has probably gotten me more properties than anything else.
I was just going to say, I bet that helps
if somebody's like teeter-tottering, on the fence, like they realize the deer are a problem, because it's hard to argue that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And they realize that I'm going about this in a sophisticated way. Like I'm not just, chewing dip and shooting them, and then they're like, well, what do you do with all the meat? Right. And you tell them that, and they're like, all right, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, that for me has been the deal sealer.
Interesting.
More
I'm
times
sure.
than
Yeah.
not.
That's pretty cool.
Have you ever had a homeowner or a property owner ask to try the meat, or have you ever shared the meat with that
A
homeowner?
lot. Yeah. I have a lot of them, and it's funny. I mean, they all love it. Although I have one homeowner who's like, hey, can you bring me like 4 tenderloins? I'm like, dude, it doesn't work like that. No, those are mine. Have you tried the burger? The burger. But no,
phenomenal.
it's I share it with any of them, and I've actually had 2 homeowners now that I've taught how to hunt.
That was going to be my next question.
I was going to ask that too. Yeah, how does that go? What's that looked like?
Well, I kind of have a little process I'll take them through. So I'll teach them how to shoot, normally with a crossbow. We'll start with a crossbow. We'll kind of work on proficiency. We'll go through that, shoot some targets. We'll talk about arrow placement. But, I hunt out of a tree saddle, right? So it's not like I can just hook you up in a saddle and we can just dangle from the tree. So, I have like a ladder stand at my house. I'll normally go set up at their house and, cuss the entire time of doing it. It's such a miserable setup, but get them in the tree, and then I'll hunt with them and kind of walk them through the process. And it's so cool to watch a homeowner go from someone who might have been on the fence about hunting,
Right.
to giving me permission, to them being like, "Hey, this meat tastes delicious," and realize it's a good thing that we're doing, and it's a great source of organic protein. And then watch them shoot their own deer. It's kind of like a bittersweet feeling, though, also, because now I'm not going to be hunting on their property.
Right.
For the most part, but,
Dude, you totally nailed. I was gonna be like, have you ever lost a spot because of that?
Totally.
but like for me, man, it's
pretty sweet.
I have more spots than I could possibly hunt.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't care. I would rather have more people out shooting the deer than. I don't care if I lose a property.
Yeah.
Those people that you've gotten into hunting their own backyard, do you feel like that's gotten them interested in hunting in general? Like, have those people kind of been like, oh, well, there's other hunts out there, I might go out west, or I might go to another spot? Or do you feel like kind of they're just, a lot of the folks are just kind of like, hey, this is cool. I can just hunt in my backyard. I'm going to do this.
They love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it turns them into hunters.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I have one guy actually that I was just on a pheasant hunt with last weekend who, when I first met him, he did not hunt at all.
Oh, wow.
And now he was, we were out with his son and his other boys all hunt.
That's cool.
It's really
That's
cool.
really
So they've
cool.
like turned into hunters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a natural thing. I feel like, for most of us. Although what's interesting for me, I get people that reach out and ask me to teach them how to hunt, and I will never turn anybody down. Like I'm happy to help in any way that I can. But I had this one guy who I was teaching to hunt, and so we were working on some stuff, and we met up for the first hunt. I was going to take him up a tree. And so I'm waiting for him to pull up to this property. It's early morning, and I'm like texting him, like, where are you, dude? And he's like, oh, I'm driving down the driveway. I can't hear a car. I'm like, what's going on? He pulls up in a Prius.
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah.
electric car, hops out. He's like, Patagonia, everything. And I was like, ooh. I asked him, I said, what makes you want to like learn how to hunt? He goes, well, I just decided that I'm going to be a hunter-gatherer. Cool, man. Like, let's do it.
Right on.
All right. And that guy was the complete opposite person that you would imagine as a hunter. Like if I asked you to like write down what a hunter is, right? He's the opposite of that. And he is a diehard killer now. That guy, he is hunting, killing like 25, 35 deer a year.
Wow. I think what's cool with that, though, is like just like how you get from some of these homeowners, they're like homeowners. They're like, oh, I didn't expect you to be like that. Like for you, you're like, oh, dude, I didn't expect you to be like that.
Yeah. I mean, and it goes to show that like anybody can do it.
Yep.
Right. Like, I mean, we're all here because our ancestors were good at hunting.
Right.
And
that's a good way of putting it.
I'd much rather eat something that's organic than eat something that's been pumped full of steroids.
Totally. Yeah. Definitely.
Eating on them city deer pretty good. Do they taste any different, you think, than other deer you tried?
The first time I was on a mule deer hunt a couple years ago, and eating the mule deer was like, oh, this tastes way different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's living on sage and corn as opposed to shrubs and like bird feeder spillage.
Right.
Rose petals.
Yeah.
Actually, they're seasoning themselves.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how do I put this? If you were trying to landscape your yard so the deer don't come to your yard to eat your landscape, what is the thing that the deer like the most?
Wait, what?
Food plot. Backyard food plot.
Clover.
Eric got me.
I overseeded my yard with clover when I first moved in.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's awesome. My wife was like, why does our grass look so green? I was like, I don't know.
Weird. That's awesome.
Yeah. Should you mow the grass? No, don't touch it, babe.
Yeah.
Is there something actually asking, seriously, like, is there like a yard plant that is commonly planted that they just like come and demolish in 0.2 seconds?
Yes. Although I'm blanking on what it is right now.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, man. No, I mean they'll eat anything and everything. White oaks are the best. I mean, and we have a lot of oaks near us, so you can't really compete against the oaks. But when the white oaks are gone, I mean, they're just crushing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that like deer are still making sign like bucks are making rubs and scrapes and stuff? That's still happening.
Yeah,
okay.
They rut hard.
Yeah.
I mean they're frat guys at 2:30 in the morning, right?
Yep.
Hanging out with Chad.
Yeah, exactly.
Chad was probably the only human at the party.
You bucks like to party?
Yeah. And then
hey, if you've had enough natty lights, they all start.
Yeah. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
The other thing I was wondering too is like there's so many people in these areas. Do you really worry about your wind or like your scent control, or like is scent control a thing, that you practice? Or
it's funny you mentioned that. So we were talking about that on the car ride over. We were talking about different scent control methods. So I'm a big believer in smoking your camo. So use like hardwood smoke because everybody's got a fireplace.
Like throw it on your Traeger or
yeah, you want to see some First Light camo in the Traeger?
Yeah.
Right around 225 with the super smoke. But no, I find the deer use certain areas because of the wind. So like if I have a southeast wind, I know they're going to be on this side of the creek bed that I can hunt that property, for example, right? And so I'll know which tree I'm going to hunt. I mean, to not have them smell me for the most part, but I don't like run an ozone machine.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
no,
I interrupted.
No, you're good. That's. I
guess
that was my point. Is like with there just being that many people out there. Like
yeah, I mean, the deer. What you'll tend to find is the deer get spooky when they can't see you, but they know they can smell you.
Right.
Right. So I could walk up to a deer, this far away, maybe not that close, but 10 yards with street clothes on. If I have camo on, they're like, boom, like they know something's wrong.
Huh.
Yeah.
I actually use that to my advantage in some spots where, like, if I'm hunting in the park, I'll walk in wearing like a tracksuit or something, right? And as soon as I pull off or veer off a park trail, I'll ditch it, put my camo on, and climb right up. And the deer will let you get super close doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting.
They're pretty keen.
Yeah.
They are masters of. Oh shoot! I should have actually made sure I knew the word before I started saying it. Correlating one thing with another. No, that guy equals dead.
Yes.
Us. That guy equals
Masters of correlation.
We might even get some food.
Yeah.
So speaking of some of your just like preparation, potentially gear, stuff like that. Now on the table in front of us, and this time when I say if you're watching on YouTube, you actually will be able to see it. So the last podcast that we recorded, I completely messed up the video recording, but we are video recording, right, MC Ryan? He's got it.
I'm at fault too, Jim, because I was zero help from the word go. So
that's all right, Mark.
You come to know. It's
when it comes to you and technology, I usually just assume I got it.
Hey, I showed him the pop-out feature on Outlook, by the way, the other day. Have you been using that still?
No, you're
not.
Since you showed it to me
Okay,
yesterday.
see, if you show Mark,
love it.
If you show Mark the pop-out feature. If you show Mark the pop-out feature on Outlook, now you've just created another. You've created another problem for him because yes, now he's going to have so many windows open because I don't.
No way, man.
He won't know how to close them.
I'm gonna stick with the pop-out feature. If you don't know about the pop-out feature and you answer a lot of emails, look up the pop-out. It's like
I'm pretty sure that you just double-click the email and it pops out, right?
Or you press that pop-out button.
No, well you can.
No, I know.
We're losing them. We're losing the audience.
Tree saddle.
All right, tree saddle. Now yes. So a lot of stuff out here on the table. What's going on here? This is sort of your get up for this urban hunting stuff, right?
Yeah. So with the amount of properties that I have access to and the number of trees that I hunt, I mean, I probably have well over 1,000 trees that I could go hunt within a 15-minute drive of my house, right? And that includes traffic time. So I mean, there's some that are just stones throw away. Literally, like I hunt my own backyard.
So 15 minutes in DC, it's just like your next door neighbor, right?
Yeah, it's like a quarter mile.
Okay.
Yeah. So I figured out early on that there was no way I was going to be able to have tree stands in all these locations. And the other problem is that, the deer are smart to where they know that if you shoot 2 of them from this tree, they're going to avoid that tree.
Yeah.
Right? So you kind of need to keep bouncing around to keep them guessing. And some trees, some properties I hunt, they might only have 2 trees in their yard, right? And maybe neither of them work for a climber because they're not a perfect telephone pole or whatever. So I needed to find a different system.
Are the trees usually pretty big then around there?
I mean, there are a lot of trees. they're big trees, little trees, round trees.
Every time I think of urban sprawl, I think of like little tiny twig trees that people like just planted in their yard.
Yeah, so all kidding aside, I mean, what we have is we have a lot of that, but then we have these like areas that are undevelopable. So it's like these beautiful little creek bottoms,
right?
Brushy, overgrown creek bottoms that you can't build a house in, right? So the tree saddle is what I ended up on because it really allows you to hunt any tree. You can prepare trees, you can just climb trees just by using sticks or whatever your method is. Super simple. Process doesn't change from prepared tree to run and gun, right? It's just the same thing. And it's super comfortable and lightweight. So it's a home run, as far as I was concerned. So you basically just wear this thing around your butt and you suspend from the tree, like this. And it's just the most comfortable thing. I am more comfortable in this than I am in this chair right now. I mean,
really?
It probably helps that I've spent.
I just thought we had some pretty comfy chairs.
No, but I mean,
new ones. No.
It literally, like, I mean, the way that I'm standing in this thing is it's like I'm in a leather recliner, like with my feet kicked back.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And it allows you to shoot a full 360 degrees around the tree.
What happens if you're standing facing the tree, right?
Yes.
Because your feet are on the tree.
Your feet are on this little platform right here.
On the little platform. Okay. What happens if you gotta like crane your body around
So you're able to use this platform to basically walk like a full 360 degrees around the tree. So if I'm this is on the tree right here. My feet are here. So I now can shoot everything in this direction, right?
Okay.
And I have a tree tether here to where if I needed to shoot in this direction, I could just come over that and just like actually lean into the rope or you can just spin around on here and be shooting back this way.
Okay.
And there's almost no movement required to do that.
Yeah.
It is the slickest system you've ever used. And I mean, I don't understand how people hunt from a tree stand now. I mean, I've been hunting out of one of these for 10 years. So it's something that, obviously I've pretty comfortable in, but it's just a absolute home run. I mean, the versatility of it, it's quiet, it's totally safe. You're connected to the tree the entire time. You literally can't fall off. And another thing that's really nice is, like when you're in a tree stand, right, and the deer are coming in, I feel like you're constantly kind of thinking about where your feet are.
Right.
Right? Like you don't want to be the guy who's like, whoa. Right?
Yeah.
Well, with this, I mean, what can go wrong?
Right.
If my feet come off this, like I'm tied to the tree. My knees are just going to hit
the other
tree.
thing, like I've seen photos of you in this thing, and like when you look at someone who's in a tree stand, you look in the woods and you see the woods is made up of vertical lines.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you see this horizontal blob when someone's sitting in a tree stand. When you're in a saddle like that, you're literally a vertical line that blends in with that.
You kind of look like a broken off branch.
Right.
Right. And the other thing that's great about these,
your profile picture on Instagram is exactly that.
Yeah.
Check it out, Urban Bowman on Instagram.
Thank you. Yes. But yeah, I mean the way that this works, it kind of just cradles your butt, and you're able to use a back band with it, and it's just. I mean, we'll put you guys in it later today, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, totally.
There is a little bit of a learning curve with it because there's really like you have to get off the ground and you have to sit in it and figure out kind of where your pinch points are or where it's not feeling comfortable, because where you have your rope tied around the tree, changes how you're being pulled a little bit or where your weight distribution is. But I mean, once you figure it out. There's a lot. I mean, or not a lot, but there's a fair amount of rope. I mean, do you have to review your Boy Scout knots before you do this? No. So we use these things. It's called an ascender. So this actually allows for like super easy one-handed operation of the.
What's a carabiner on this? Which part's the ascender? Right.
This is called a ropeman ascender, and so this allows you to just pull it up the tree. This also works great for one-handed operation on your lineman's belt.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so that's what's one of the many benefits of the saddle is that you're constantly connected to the tree. You literally cannot fall out of this. You can't. The saddle will not come off your body because it has a waistband. It also has leg straps. I don't use the leg straps because I don't see a need for them, but a lot of people that are first starting out, I think, really like the leg straps for safety, and it makes all the sense in the world. But for me, I don't use the leg straps. So, I mean, you're constantly connected to the tree. You get up, you have your lineman's belt around the tree, throw the rope around that you click into, and then you just clip into your bridge here, right? And so this is a material called AM steel. This is originally was used for winches on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this has like an 8,000-pound braking strength.
Wow.
So,
all right,
you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that ought to do.
Yeah, this company Tethered. I was fortunate to help work with them on designing this saddle. And so there were a group of guys that between all of us, we had over 100 years of no. Is that right? No, I think it was 100 years combined between all of us in saddle hunting experience, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so we were able to design this thing, and it's awesome. I mean, I don't know how they're going to improve on it for next year because I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just once you get that pressure point kind of dialed in, it's an absolute home run.
So,
and if you want to do some arborist stuff,
right. Well, that's what this. That's kind of how it originated. It originated out of arborist saddles.
Oh, cool.
But those aren't able to really be comfortable for long periods of sitting in, and they're not quiet. These are designed to be quiet, and they're super lightweight.
What does that whole setup weigh? Yeah. Have you weighed it out?
I have not. I think they have, but I mean, this has the rope on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me.
Yeah. Oh, that's why it was
with
heavy.
The chair on it. You're like, this thing weighs 250 pounds.
No, I mean, there's nothing there. 3 pounds, maybe.
And it fits in your backpack.
So, like, that's where I'm going with that. Is like, if you're a mobile hunter and you're hunting, like, you're doing a lot of run and gun stuff, I don't know how you can. Honestly, I don't know how you can beat that.
Right. And
so all this right here is basically everything that you take out, aside from like your bow and all that stuff, right? But that's this is what it takes to get you in a tree.
And climbing sticks. So I use the Lone Wolf climbing sticks.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, if I have a tree that's preset, so it already has whatever climbing method I need for the tree, I just literally will walk in. Some of the trees I'll use this platform on. Some of them I'll use a ring of steps that are already there.
Okay.
Just because I only have one platform and I don't want to leave it in a tree. But you literally just walk in, either climb up with your Lone Wolf sticks or climb up with the sticks that are already there, click in, and you're hunting.
Like and maybe you said the start to finish. Like, let's say it's not, you don't have your steps on the tree, you're bringing those in with you. Like, how long until you're up? So when you're good at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really incredibly fast, right? There are only 5 straps that you're putting around the tree. There are 4 sticks, and then there's one for this, and then you're putting your rope around the tree. But I mean, if I was trying to go as fast as possible without making noise, it's like 7 minutes from ground to the top. I could go up, like if you were like, hey, I'll give you a free rifle scope if you can do it under 3 minutes. I would take that 10 times out of 10. I could fly up a tree.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're just going for like a hunting scenario, it's under 10 minutes.
Maybe we'll take you up on that on Instagram.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
We got a couple little twig trees outside the new building.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the other cool thing about this. I mean, again, I'm a big dude, right? And I can hunt trees that are this big around.
Right.
Like I've literally been in a tree.
4
inches, 5
bats.
inches.
Yeah.
I've been in a tree that I was kind of like, if the wind blows, this might snap. Like a big boat anchor hanging on the top of this thing.
I hope that root wad is secure
in
the ground.
But I mean, I could literally hunt trees from that big around all the way to, I could hunt a flat wall if I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I was thinking about is with that, with the saddle, you're able to keep that tree in between you and the deer the whole time. So do you find, because when I used to do a lot of stuff where like you'd be in the woods with it, you'd be filming like hunts or whatever. And what we did is we'd always set up with the tree in between us and the deer because you have all that camera gear.
Yes.
I'm wondering if that's what, like, do you do something similar to that when you have deer coming in? Are you kind of keeping that tree in between?
Yeah, 100%. I will always keep the tree between the deer and me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if they're coming in, I'll just kind of keep walking around the tree until I'm able to draw and take that, like 10 o'clock shot.
Right.
It's basically what I want.
I feel like this is a stupid question. So, but how can you walk around the tree if all you've got is this little stand here?
So I'll show you when you get outside.
This can shimmy?
No. It's going to stay put, but you can pivot your body all the way around. See how it's got these traction bars on the side? I can push off, all the way around.
Yeah.
So I could literally have my feet like here. And I can have my body all the way back here.
Basically on the side. Okay, cool.
Now, at some point, if the deer's like running circles around the tree, eventually it's going to
run out of
see me, right? Because I'm going to run out of degrees of being able to hide. But for the most part, I mean, if you have a deer coming in, you're able to kind of move over and then slide back and then draw and shoot.
That's super cool.
Are you or have you ever been afraid of heights? And did you have to get over that at all?
I used to be terrified of heights. When I was hunting, when I originally started hunting, I would hunt out of a climber, and I was like maybe 15 feet off the ground. And I remember if the wind blew, I'd be like, like, oh my God, don't fall, please. Yeah. And now I'm like a monkey, man. Because what could go wrong?
Right.
I mean, even I have a buddy, Jared, who we get a lot of people that are like, well, what if you nick your rope with a broadhead, man? Right. He did a video trying to cut one of these. You almost can't cut through this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're just like hacking on it with a knife. I mean, you would have to try and cut yourself out of the tree.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I was actually worried I was going to need the fire department to do that one evening, actually. I was climbing into a tree. I'd hurt my back lifting. I was trying to squat too much too early and blew my back out. So like a week and a half goes by, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can go for a hunt. And climbing up in the tree, sure as day, I step on the platform, my back just like locks up, and I'm like, oh God! I scream out in the woods. Right? I'm like, oh my God! And so I'm sitting there like trying to stretch. I literally couldn't get my right foot like higher than that off the platform. No. I'm like trying to stretch, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to climb down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to have to actually call the fire department and be like, hey, guys,
I'm hunting.
I need help.
I'm gonna send you a Google Earth pin.
Like, I swear to God, this is a real call.
Yeah.
This is going to be an exaggerated version of your usual cat in the tree call.
Yeah. And,
Yep.
and so it took me like 3 hours to get back to my truck, which was like 75 yards away. It was brutal.
Killer, man.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I come home, my wife's like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I don't know. I'm old, man. My back hurts. Like, just rub it, please. It hurts so bad.
Just help
Yeah.
me. I barely made it out.
It was brutal. But yeah, the saddle is just a phenomenal way to hunt. I mean,
That's
the advantages of it, I don't understand how people can try one. I mean, if you honestly try one and put the effort into checking one out, you can't go back to hunting from a tree stand.
Yeah.
Do you find that it works good in super cold weather too? Like even if it's way cold?
Yeah, and so this company Tether, they actually have a like a cover for your butt for when it's colder out.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Because I guess they found that when you compress all the fill,
Right.
But I've never had an issue, and I've been hunting in, I mean, obviously every weather condition.
Right.
So, I mean, I've literally been on hunts where it's like 110 degrees outside, and I've been on hunts where it's -10.
Yeah.
And everything in between. I've never used the butt warmer.
I mean, I'm thinking about too, like the other stuff you can bring with you in your pack. Like that's gonna free up so much room. Like if you're hauling a tree stand, mostly
Bring a book,
you
bring
could
your laptop.
Snacks.
you could literally put in like one of those like heater bodysuits things in your pack and still be less weight and have more insulation. You know?
Yeah, I mean my system. I'm like a super gear nerd, right? So I have like a complete kit, like layered in the back of my truck bed, in a big Rubbermaid tote, in the order that it goes on, right? But this allows that system to be completely uniform, regardless of where you're hunting. And you just take your pack. I film all my hunts, so I have like my camera gear, camera arm, all that crap. But even for this, for filming your hunts, it works great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because you can just put the tree arm, the tree's here, put the tree arm like right here to where it can go over the bridge, and it actually gives you like a really cool kind of over the shoulder angle, even for a self-filmed, hunt.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really pretty cool.
And for gun hunting too, we were down in Iowa hunting with our buddies at the hunting public, and they're using these things too. And they were during gun season, we'd set up so we were facing the tree, and you can put your gun right against the tree. It's like shooting off a bench.
And the way that your tree tether comes down with your bridge here, you can literally brace your right arm on it, and it's like cheating.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, I really hurt my shoulder last year, and so I wasn't able to draw a bow, so I was hunting with a crossbow, and it felt like cheating because you don't move.
Yeah.
The scope is just dead on.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's really great. And you can shoot right-handed and left-handed out of it because you're braced.
Right.
It's just
That's sweet.
I've got one more saddle question. I don't know if you can or can't do this, but can you? I don't even know what they'd be called, like tree spikes or like for your boots?
Spurs.
Spurs. Yeah.
So there are a lot of guys in the saddle community that hunt with the spurs, and so what they'll do is you can literally just take this and this, walk up to a tree, put your spurs on, spur up, set this, and you're good to go. I mean, you can literally have, what is that, like 5? I think this is 3 pounds. I think this is about probably 3 pounds with the rope. And then you can have a couple pounds for the spurs. You can have a completely mobile hunting system under 10 pounds.
Well, and it's so compact. Like even like my tree, I hunt oftentimes, and I love it. It's a lone wolf climber, and it's actually a pretty compact setup. But even still, yet it catches on stuff on your way in. Like you said, you're talking about trying to be quiet. I'm trying to get into some spots, and it catches an overhanging limb because it's this is just like you'd be able to zip through stuff.
And the other thing that's cool about this is you can literally, it's totally modular. Like whereas with that lone wolf system, right? Like that's what you have. Like it's a climber. Like it works great. I've used one for years, but you have no options with that. Like maybe you could tie some bags onto it, right? This thing, I mean, it's got molly webbing on it. You can literally put whatever you want on it for accessories. You can design your own system. And so that allows you to choose how you want to climb a tree. Like I use the lone wolf sticks. You could use spurs. You could use some other step, something cool I don't know about. Like there, but it's totally up to you. The user can design their own system.
That's awesome.
And that's what's super cool about it. And you could design it even for the hunt. Like if we knew we were walking back like 5 miles on public land to go hunt a buck bed, you could just wear the whole thing in.
You could.
You don't even need a backpack at that point if you wanted. Right?
Jeez.
The AR-15 guys just awoke from a slumber when they heard molly webbing.
Oh, dude, that's thinking the same thing. I was like, oh man, you put some
what? Molly webbing? Oh, hold on. Tactical. What?
Yeah. Can you put some pick rails on
rails.
that saddle?
That's all it needs.
You probably could.
That's pretty. Yeah. This whole setup's pretty slick.
Yeah.
What do you say here? MC Ryan's flashing the fact we're a little over an hour. What do you say we dive into some last calls here? Taylor, we'll save you for last. But my last calls or just anything mildly related as we take her in for a landing from our cruising altitude of however high you normally are in a tree.
22 feet.
22 feet. Marco, you go first.
You want me to open?
Yes.
Pretty simple. Learned a lot. And my last call is I'm going to get a tracksuit, a tree saddle, and get into politics because I'm headed your way.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
That's it.
Go. My last call is I think people heard on an earlier podcast that I had some urban trapping going on at my house. Legally, I could not trap the squirrels that were in my attic, so somebody else had to come and wound up in animal control being called and my neighbors being quite upset with me before we actually even really got all of our stuff moved in. So I kind of know a little taste of where you're coming from. I'm sure with some of the stuff you've had to deal with. But where we live is a little bit of an urban environment, but with a lot of wildlife. And so now I'm curious. I wanted to go see what they'll allow. I imagine that was something. Well, you said that you had kind of a mentor, for lack of a better term, who was able to explain to you some of the laws and stuff like that. But I'd imagine DC probably isn't the only place in the entire United States or world where you can wildlife.
I've had a lot of discussions with guys that are all over. I mean, Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh area.
We have it here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
not my neighborhood. We got an ordinance. You can't even shoot your bow in your yard. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Well, I've had to deal with that. There's a certain county that's ripe with potential.
You need to move and build an AR. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's fine. But yeah, anytime you guys want to come out, man, come experience it. But you're seeing a lot more urban sprawl, and the deer's becoming a problem. Or deer are becoming a problem in a lot more residential areas. So I think you're just going to see more and more availability to come out and shoot them in the burbs.
Absolutely.
Rock on,
Heck
Rick.
Yeah. No, I'd just
Slinging
echo that.
Rick.
Like, I mean, it literally extends your season, gives you more opportunity to sling. Sling it up.
If Rick can sling more, he's in.
Find an urban area near you and get to slinging.
That sounds like a T-shirt. You could get like a silhouette of a guy in a saddle and sling it up.
Heck yeah!
Oh, sling on.
All right, we're having a meeting with Brandon right after this for new apparel.
Trademark a lot of crap we talk about on here. All right, Taylor, up to you.
I just want to thank you guys for letting me on and chatting, man. I'm pretty impressed with this facility here. This is sweet place.
Thanks, dude. Yeah,
appreciate
pleasure
it.
to have you out.
I might accidentally miss my flight and just be lost somewhere around here. See you guys in a week or so.
Yeah. All right. We'll find out. We'll just start looking up in trees when we can't find you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sweet. Well, hey, thanks again for joining us. Again, for those of you who haven't checked Taylor out yet, Instagram at Urban Bowman. Where else can they find you? YouTube?
Yep, YouTube, Hunt Urban. Putting a lot of vlogs out there and
nice.
taking you guys with me into the burbs for all the crazy things that we get to see.
Rock on. And you are now part of the Captured Creative crew, too.
I am, yeah.
So another great account to follow if you're interested in some awesome hunting images and video and stuff like that. So check them out, everybody. And on that note, we'll finally land this plane.
Let's get in those saddles.
We will land it on that. Hey, thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate it. And happy hunting and shooting out there. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Vortex Nation podcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hit that subscribe button so you can always stay up to date on the latest happenings over here at the Vortex Nation podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at Vortex Nation Podcast. Again, everybody, thanks and happy hunting and shooting. We appreciate it. Have a good one.